Hi, it's been a while. January has flown by somehow. I just looked at the date and I was like, oh, I haven't posted a video all month. So, this is going to be a recent reads, recent book haul, I guess, because January has been incredible, you guys. I am not joking. I have had nothing but 5 stars and a 4.5 star book. Like, that's been my entire month. It hasn't been a ton of books, but it has been top tier high quality. And I also wanted to show off my sweater. I made it. It is like fully crochet. I fully made this. It is large and I learned a lot in the construction of this, the crochet of it. I've learned a lot about the yarn that I used and the fact that it is very, very hot. So I wanted to show it off. The stitch is really cool. You know, the sleeves were an issue. You can kind of see how it's kind of large here. My arm is actually like up here, but I made a sweater and I need to finish up one that I put on pause all the way back in December because I rage paused. And then I am almost done with another. So my crochet journey continues, but at least my book journey is also continuing at pace. So I'm going to change out of this sweater. It is so hot. Okay, glasses are staying off for a while because it's hot. It's warm. The sweater is so hot. Okay, so I guess I'll just start with do you want to hear about the books or do you want to hear about the book haul? I'm going to put the books first because book haul is always fun and I'll just put that at the end. Books first. So the first book I read, I have no preparation. I'm just doing this off of memory. The first book I read this month was Turns of Fate by Anne Bishop. This is a new urban fantasy-ish series from her. I read her series The Others about 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe, and I devoured it. I loved it. You know, had its issues, but her urban fantasy just works for me. And if you don't know, I love a good urban fantasy, which is kind of inspiring some of the books that I hauled. I was at the library when this came out literally, I think in December. I learned about it in December, had no idea it was coming out, learned about it in December, went to the library to kill time after work, like literally the first week of January, saw it on the shelf, on the new releases shelf, grabbed it, sat down to read a little bit of it, and I just kept reading until it was time for me to leave. And then I got home and I read another 100 pages. So I was at like literally probably about a good third of the book that first night. And then I went to work, read during lunch, read at the library, I think I went to the cafe that time, killing time before I had to drive home. I have a bad commute, so at this point I've just been like going to the library, going to the cafe to read or crochet. I don't know, read about another 100 pages, got home, stayed up way too late, probably until about 12:30, almost 1. Regretfully, not regretfully, to finish the book. I finished this in a little over 24 hours. And this is a big book. Like, the pages are pretty thick. It's just 500 pages. And I finished it in about 24 hours, if that says anything. This is a world where you have our world and then you have this island. And it's kind of known in this world that this island and parts of the world are strange. Kind of like an otherworld kind of situation, a fae feeling kind of situation. And we start following this cop who is assigned to the precinct that usually deals with this island and the people and the weirdness there. Her first assignment is to go to the island and ask questions about a murder where a ghost gun was used. And I thought that would be like the entirety of the book, but it's not. And I think the strength of this book is that we get to have the entire world unfold as we follow lots of characters. So if you are not really a lot of characters we follow in this, if that you're not that kind of reader, this may not be for you, but I think it really worked. I really liked the unfolding of the world. Oh my god, this is so shiny. It's a library binding. I liked the unveiling, the unraveling of the world. I liked our main character. I think her name is Beth. yeah, Beth is like the main character, the cop, but we follow others. And I liked learning about the other world, the island, and all the world that leads to, and just ate it up, devoured it, loved it so much. I will say that if you typically need trigger warnings, content warnings, please look this up, okay? I'm not a believer in content warnings being spoilers, and I don't think any content warnings I could give you would spoil anything here. So I will say the major ones that I remember are, first of all, a character that we follow the point of view of is escaping from an abusive relationship. Emotional, I don't think it became physical yet, but, or I think it did. So an all-around abusive relationship, she's escaping it. We have lots of discussion. There's no on-page rape, but there is discussion of rape. It happens off-page, you know, things are alluded to. We have, you know, discussions of child abuse. Just kind of a whole host of trigger warnings that could be found in here. And that is one thing about Anne Bishop's writing that I don't quite always love, but I think she writes in a way, and I think this happened in the others as well, where she writes such, oh, also you're going to be in the mind of some of these like bad guy, despicable characters. But she writes in such a way where you can have faith and confidence in the fact that the bad guys are going to be taken down. They're going to have their day, you know. So I think I felt that a lot in the others, and I felt that a lot here. And I have not yet read her Black Jewel series, which I think she was most popular for. I do have a copy of the first book in like the mass market. So I have not read the Black Jewel series to compare, but this is very similar in tone, in the world building, the character work, I think, to the others, which I think is why I liked it so much. So if that helps you, if you've read Anne Bishop before, that's that. So 5 stars, devoured it. What a kickoff to 2026, especially because my 2025, it was such a like, it just, the end was just, bleh. I was so happy that this happened. And then I think I was watching Jordan's best of 2025 video. I will link her down below. And she talked about Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. I vaguely remember seeing the poster of the movie that Michael B. Jordan starred in, and the way Jordan talked about it, it was just, it got to me. I just immediately went to Libby, and it was available on audio. This is incredible. I had a lot of feelings about this. So Bryan Stevenson is an attorney, and he has spent decades, his entire career essentially, working on criminal justice reform, and especially, as this book follows, death row criminal justice reform. And this book follows, you know, you kind of have 2 threads. So the main thread is you're following the story of one specific death row inmate named Walter. We follow his story from when Bryan meets him to basically the end of Walter's life. And then the rest of the book, threaded between Walter's story, Bryan Stevenson kind of like talks about different ways that the criminal justice system fails specific people. The way that it fails people of color, the way that it fails poor people and poor people of color, the way that it fails disabled people of color, the way that it fails children, 13-year-olds' life in prison. Oh, that chapter really got to me. Oh, that chapter got to me. Children tried as adults and given life without parole. 13-year-olds who don't understand anything, whose brains are still developing, who have no impulse control, who have no structure at home. Oh, that got me. I was so fucking pissed. Children, how it fails women and mothers and women who miscarry and get charged with murder from the miscarriage. No. So it weaves you know, Bryan Stevenson's life as he moves through and sees all of these, the growth of the, I think, I am completely forgetting the name. I think it's the Equal Justice Institute, which he created out of all of this, his career, and then Walter's life. And I believe the movie with Michael B. Jordan probably is mainly the story of Walter, which is a very compelling story. But it's like, I know all of this, but it's still a completely incredible thing to see it just so plainly laid out like this. But one thing, I did see a lot of reviews on Goodreads from people who are justifiably shocked and angered by this. But one thing I didn't see a lot of was the takeaway at the end where Bryan is kind of like, you have to have hope. You have to be there for others. He has this whole section where he talks about an old woman who literally all she does is she goes to court and she tries to be there for people who are buried under the weight of everything they're feeling. She calls herself a stone catcher. And it's just, you try to be there for others. If you can't be a stone catcher, just do what you can. There's still, the world is still a fucking dumpster fire, and this kind of ties into what I read last year called We Will Rise, the anthology, is that there's still ways to have hope, even in the face of complete injustice and massive systems of injustice. So, incredible book, 5 stars. I think anyone who has any intention of trying to diversify your reading, trying to learn more about anything, just trying to expand your horizons, absolutely read this, especially if you're an American, especially with how crazy everything is right now. It may not be the most uplifting of stories, but I think it's such an important book to read. So, and I really, really like that when I was looking for it on Libby, there are actually like young adult versions of it. I saw reviews around where, you know, people were talking about they were learning it in school, which is really cool. So absolutely, absolutely must read, 5 stars. So that kicked off my January. And then to keep it going, this is kind of cheating a little bit, but you know what? I want to be happy when I'm reading. So I read the next 2 volumes of the Apothecary Diaries that I had. I read 9 and 10. First of all, look at my Mao Mao. I love her. She's beautiful. I love the series. It is a historical Chinese drama with the main character Mao Mao, who is she's basically a little nerd detective person, and she solves mysteries around the court, and there's intrigue, and I just like it a lot. I don't know what else to say. These are some of my favorite books last year. She was one of my favorite characters that I got to fall in love with last year. So I will continue to read these. They're probably going to continue to be 5 stars. Much like Yona of the Dawn, this series would have to do something absolutely egregious for me to not give anything 5 stars going on. So 2 more 5 stars to my list. And then I read, I guess I'll do it in order of what I finished. So the next thing I finished was Making History by KJ Parker, and this was my 4.5 star read. Now, I gave it 4.5 stars because I really enjoyed it, but compared to all the 5 stars that I've had this month, it didn't quite hit the same mark. So it just felt right to give it 4.5, and also the ending was kind of so this is it's being touted as like a dark historical fantasy, but I don't think there's much fantasy here at all. I would call this just kind of like alt ancient history kind of situation. So essentially, all of these scholars are brought together by this tyrant, and they are ordered to essentially create a fake history of their people, you know, essentially create a ancient city of rubble to so that the tyrant can create a false pretext to go to war with their neighbors. And this is almost an impossible task. And we follow, our main character is a linguist, and he has to go back through time and create like a proto-language for their current language, essentially. And there's a lot of like linguistic talk, and it's very internally focused on him, but it's quite funny. KJ Parker has a voice. I've read from him before. I've read Prosper's Demon, which is also very voicey. So KJ Parker writes like really, really, really strong character voices. And if you haven't read KJ Parker before, I liked Prosper's Demon. I think I gave it about 3 or 3.5. But you get a taste almost immediately, I think, in at least those 2 works that I've read now from him, you get a taste almost immediately of the character voice and whether you're gonna like it, because that character voice sticks to the whole thing. So this was a really quick novella, and that is the part that kind of knocked down half a star for me, is that the ending is so quick. It just kind of like, and like it's over. But I had a good time. I had a good time with the character and everything that was going on. The humor worked for me, and I liked it. I liked it. It was a really, really short, quick read. Like, I started it one night in bed, and I just kept going, and I was like, oh, there's like 75% of this left. I could finish it, but I also need to sleep. So yeah, I chose to sleep and then just finish it the next day. But good time, 4.5 stars. And then what did I finish last? I guess this is the year I'm going to be reading more nonfiction, because the next thing I finished, the most recent thing I finished this last night, was The Quiet Damage by Jesselyn Cook, and the subtitle is QAnon and the Destruction of the American Family. I read this, I think, because Ashley, my friend Ashley, talked about it. Link down below. This is a nonfiction. Jesselyn Cook is a journalist who was writing about QAnon, and she put this book together, essentially telling the history of QAnon, but through the story of 5 different families and how they were just absolutely destroyed by a family member going into, like, getting sucked into QAnon, the cult conspiracy theories of QAnon. And I remember, you know, some of the stuff, like, you know, when she talks about a QAnon believing, I remember hearing about it in the news. I've kind of seen, you know, like, there's a subreddit, it's also mentioned in the book, where family members, friends of people in QAnon kind of go and post and just have a space for them together. And this book really did a really great job. She chooses to do a narrative nonfiction, essentially. And she must have done a lot of work, because she puts us right in the heads of from family members to the people themselves. And she really shows how someone can be sucked into something like this. Like, it's easy to say, oh my God, you know, how can you believe in that kind of stuff? That's just crazy. But the choosing to do this in a narrative nonfiction way makes it very easy to track how one person can go from a single tiny bit of curiosity backed by insecurity and other stuff, and how they go down the rabbit hole. And it's just fucking sad. It's so sad, and it makes me so angry at all these fucking QAnon grifters out there, and all these conspiracy theory hacks, and fucking Alex Jones and shit, like his mountain of shit that he's created. So it was really good. I think if you've ever been curious about QAnon, I haven't read anything else about QAnon, but I just found this really impactful, really, really successful in what she was trying to do, because it is called The Quiet Damage. She's trying to highlight how this shit destroys families. Like, the way it takes a loved one and changes them into somebody you don't know anymore. Like, it's a completely different person. So it's so good. 5 stars. 5 stars. Everything was 5 stars. So yeah, that is everything I've read so far in January, which has been fantastic. And I feel like making this video now is jinxing me, but I'll just read more Apothecary Diaries to get more 5 stars. Really quick, kind of TBR. So I do have a few more library books. So first I have Headshot by Rita Bullwinkel. I also have this on audio from my library at Libby. I started the audio a little bit today at the library when I was crocheting, but I got into some finicky parts of it and I had to stop because I couldn't listen to it. I had to focus on what I was doing. But it's a pretty short novel. This is about young women boxers going into a tournament and just their lives and everything they are bringing to the tournament. So Headshot. Then I have Ascension by Nicholas Binge. I really liked Extremity by him, so I am very curious about this. I don't know if I'm going to get to it. We'll see, but yeah, Ascension. And then definitely, I know this is definitely because of Ashley, Woodworking by Emily St. James. Again, I don't know if I'm going to get to this one anytime soon. That is it for, okay, maybe a TBR as well. So Is This a Cry for Help? And we're going into my book haul now, by Emily Austen. This was my Aardvark book for January. And we have, I think someone started a buddy read for this in my book club that I'm on Discord, so I may start this very soon to join in and hop in on the buddy read. Essentially this is literary contemporary fiction, so I am excited to read this one. And then more haul, This Brutal Moon by Bethany Jacobs. This is book 3 in the Kindom trilogy. I still have not read book 2, but I freaking loved book 1, which is called These Burning Stars. It is over there somewhere, and I have book 2. So I am going to do a video, you'll see one coming up, of a series I want to focus on this year. And spoiler alert, this will be on it. So very excited to get back to this world. And then City of Others by Jared Poon. This was kind of on my radar. I think I kind of had it on my radar and then it fell off my radar. And then it got back on there really strong when Angela from Literary Science Alliance started talking about this. She started reading it in a Friday Reads and I was like, oh yeah. And then the more she talked about it, I was like, oh, it's a freaking urban fantasy set in Singapore. So I went to the bookstore and I read like the first 2 chapters of it and I really liked it. So I bought it and I'm very excited to read it. So influenced yet again. Okay. And then the library I go to has a lot of books for like the Friends of the Library sales, used books. So when I talk about the fact that I like urban fantasy, that does cross over into paranormal romance. They share a lot of the same underpinnings. They basically share the same skeleton that they grow out into their own worlds. I feel like there was some paranormal romance fan out there whose library ended up being donated to this Friends of the Library, and like it's kind of sad seeing such a big amount of books like that because it's obvious that it came from one person. But you know, it's kind of cool that it's also like, you know, going on and like I'm an urban fantasy paranormal romance fan finding them and finding this many. So it's such a human thing, you know. So first, not urban fantasy or paranormal romance. I was surprised to find this. Oh, it's annotated. Oh, okay. This is Please Look After Mom by Kyung-sook Shin. This is a Korean novel where a mother is separated from her husband in the crowds of the Seoul subway station, and her family begins a desperate search to find her. And then we kind of delve into the family and their woes. I literally just flipped through this for the first time, and someone annotated it when they were reading, so that'll be interesting. Jennifer, whoever you are, I'm very excited to see what you thought about this. Please Look After Mom. I had kind of put this on my, you know, maybe check out at some point, and then I saw it there and I grabbed it. If you know anything about the paranormal romance craze from the 2010s, Richelle Mead, Succubus Blues. This is so familiar. I saw this all the time back in the day, and I can't remember if I actually read it. I didn't end up like pulling up my Goodreads there because I was just like, I had a pile of books, I was knee deep in them. So Succubus Blues and the second book, which is Succubus on Top. So this is why I'm saying these must have come from some paranormal romance fan. So there's these two. So I'm excited to delve back into this. We have Bitten by Kelley Armstrong. I am sure that I've read this, but I don't remember a single goddamn thing about it. So it's going to be new for me. This is Women of the Otherworld, book 1. So that was a very popular paranormal romance book, that series that I didn't really get into. I didn't go into the whole series, but I know this book. I know this author. So I'm excited to get into this. We have Claimed by Shadow by Karen Chance, also one that I recognize. I think this is book 2 in a series, and I think the series is called, oh, I don't know if it had a name at this point. I really did not look into all of this. Like, these have been sitting in my trunk for like 3 days. I recognize Karen Chance's name, and I know when I look up the first book, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that's the book, that's the series. So that one. And then Dates from Hell, a paranormal romance anthology. Kim Harrison, Lindsay Sands, Kelley Armstrong, Laurie Handeland. I recognize those first 3 names for sure. It was really cool finding all of these like old, like classic paranormal romance books there. Oh, and the last, this is wild. I think this is an arc of The Bear and the Nightingale, or some kind of free copy. So it says, read the free copy of The Bear and the Nightingale and see for yourself. This is like a marketing copy. Like, this is crazy. And I think that, okay. So I was like, oh my God. So I've always been meaning to read this. And I figured, honestly, why not? And then I opened it. The first thing I see is the stamp. It says Ex Libris, and it's like, is it a jackalope that's a bunny with like horns? Anyway, this says Amy Santa Maria. So whoever's library that was, Amy. And then I freaking open it up. It says, to Katie, whoever Katie is, signed by Catherine Arden, SDCC 2018. Like, are you kidding me? I was at that Comic-Con. Like, I probably walked by Catherine Arden signing this at some signing. Like, it's crazy. So, marketing copy of The Bear and the Nightingale in mass market. This shit's cool. That is everything. That is everything I have read recently. That is what I've bought recently. Mini little TBR. I do plan to get a few videos up. These ideas keep churning in my mind, but of course they churn in my mind when I'm driving to work and I have no way to write down notes and stuff. So I don't know. Probably next week, going to February, I'm probably going to have some more like goal-oriented videos coming up, but I just wanted to get this one out because it's been a while and I wanted to talk about all my books that I've read because it's all 5 stars. If it can only go down from here, question mark. I don't know, but I don't know, you know that feeling. It's very exciting to have all these books that are really, really good, and you have a really good reading month. And I read all these books while also crocheting like a crazy person. So, yeah, it's just been a very good reading month. Let me know how your January 2026 has kicked off. Let me know what the best thing you read this month so far is. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye.